Thanks everybody for joining the Prosperous Sellers Podcast. My name's Steve Yates. I'm your host, and I'm also the CEO of Prime Guidance, which is a premium marketplace consultancy. I'm here with guest Shivali Patel. So Shivali operates under many different roles. She's author, brand owner of multiple brands. She's a Helium 10 brand evangelist, speaker, influencer, and more. So why don't you introduce yourself a bit? And I'm looking forward to all the many topics I'm sure we'll be able to discuss today.
Thank you so much for having me on, Steve. I'm really excited to be here. And he makes me sound so wonderful with all the fancy labels. And he is right. I do have a couple of brands under my belt at the moment. I actually launched with 4, and now I've kind of made that a little bit more concise. I sell both digital and physical products, as well as I'm an author and an senior brand evangelist at Helium 10, where I really get to give back to the community, kind of network and workshop and educate people on the tools that Helium 10 really has, which ranges from product research into keyword research, listing optimization, ads, and so forth. So even if you are, let's say, an advanced seller, we do have something for the advanced sellers as well as the beginner sellers. And then even if, let's say, you've been in the industry for quite some time and you're looking to kind of go off of the platform, let's say expand onto Walmart or TikTok Shop, we have tools for that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have the benefit of wearing so many different hats and being exposed to so many different things that you can probably talk to just about any subject. But I guess you being a brand owner and a seller, and these are changing. A lot of things have changed this year, right? Tariffs have impacted the business. We've got AI tools that are changing how people manage their business and how consumers are finding their products. Anything in particular that you're doing to kind of adapt your strategies in light of all these new changes?
I think now more than ever before, it's important to make sure that not all your eggs are in one basket, but at the same time that you're really leveraging the resources that are available to you. I think a lot of times we're given access to amazing metrics and we think, okay, like let's figure out how to increase profitability. And we go back and we say, all right, let's figure out the supplying end of things. How do we find a really great supplier that can still give us the profit margins we want? But really, you can do that plus a number of other things, right? You have access, let's say you're an Amazon seller, to search query performance tools, search query performance data, rather. And Helium 10 just launched something called a search query analyzer, which lets you look at all those reports, but not just one report at a time. You can look at multiple reports in one go. So multiple weeks, multiple months, meaning...
Yeah.
For example, you have Prime Week coming up, right? That's in a few days' time, July 8th through 11th. This year, it's 4 days long, and you really want to capitalize on that event. Well, how do you really do that? That's to make sure you're in good standing ahead of time, and you can do that by leveraging what you already have. So take a look at the historical information for your products from last year's Prime Week. Look at your competitors' information. So really just making sure you're tapping into everything that's available to you to stay at the forefront of not only your niche, but also what it is you're doing on any platform.
Yeah, I love that Helium 10 tries to connect tools that Amazon's already offering and help people actually utilize those tools in a much more user-friendly and effective manner. And I think that was one of the amazing reports that you guys have recently developed that I think makes it that much more valuable, and get a lot more insights out of it. I know you recently also launched a bunch of TikTok tools as well. You want to talk briefly about those?
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. The thing is, as entrepreneurs, we first of all have shiny object syndrome. I don't know about you, but I get that all the time. I'm like, I don't want to do it all. Yeah. And so, especially as an Amazon seller, say you already have the product, you already know how to do the product research and make a listing and run the ads. Well, what after that is really to leverage not just the resources we were talking about before, but also your skill set. And so being able to tap into just an additional platform quickly will help you increase the bottom line of your business, right? And so a great way to do that is by connecting your TikTok token. Let's say you decide that, yes, you know what, it's profitable. First of all, you can figure out profitability by using our profitability calculator, same way that you used to do before. If you are familiar with Helium 10 as a listener or a viewer, then you know that on any product listing page on Amazon, you could go in and then click our Chrome extension, which again, you can download from the Google store. You can just go to heliumh10.me/extension, download it. And then on any product listing page, click into profitability calculator. Usually you can go in and put in all sorts of numbers, say, hey, it cost me $5 to source this product, $10 to source this product. I have this much storage time, this much shipping amount. This is what I'm going to retail it for. These are the dimensions. You can still do all that, but instead toggle at the very top where it says TikTok Shop. So figure out whether you're profitable and say that you are, this is something you want to expand onto the TikTok Shop platform. Then what you can do is open up your Seller Center account on TikTok. And then from there, you can just convert over your listings and start easy. So you don't have to necessarily get all the product. If you don't have access to it, you can still do MCF with Amazon, but instead connect your token with Helium 10. So that way both of the interfaces can communicate. And then we have an option for you to go in and convert all your Amazon listings. You can bulk convert them, meaning now you don't have to go in and individually do every single thing. You can say, hey, I want to convert these 8 ASINs over to TikTok, and it'll convert it onto Seller Center. And so then you can just go in and kind of rearrange things, which is what I ended up doing. Is you just go in and say, hey, I want to take my A+ content and move it up into the listing. Maybe I want to put my lifestyle image as my main image. And you can rearrange from there, which is a way better use of your time. We also have inventory management. You can check out profits with TikTok Shop. So a lot of stuff is very integrated, and the whole purpose is to make your life easier, more efficient, and see everything in one place from one dash.
Yeah, I love that you guys just made it almost as easy as it can possibly be. I mean, it's just like step 1, step 2, step 3. It's just so easy to now expand into that channel. And I think it was an area that was lacking for a lot of sellers. They just thought that it was too overwhelming, and you guys, showed them it's not. It's possible, and here's a few easy ways to accomplish that.
Yeah, and I think on that same note, it's important to mention we just rolled out with TikTok Shop content. So all of our paid plans come with a learning hub for videos, right? There's so much information out there you can consume. I think if you're wearing all the hats, it can be really overwhelming. And so to simplify that, we did kind of create some videos to make sure people feel guided even on the TikTok Shop journey, if that's something that you guys are interested in, taking advantage of.
Yeah, for sure. TikTok is not going to be Amazon, right? But now Amazon expects you to drive external traffic. It wants you to be in control of a brand. They don't want a bunch of Amazon sellers. They want a bunch of brands. Those are brands that are building up a reputation holistically across multiple sales channels and getting people excited about your brand. And TikTok's a perfect channel to get into the right type of audience that is going to be on that platform and drive them to either Amazon or just do the multi-channel fulfillment, like you mentioned, have it purchased through TikTok shops. There's a lot of opportunity to kind of take advantage of that channel to build up your brand. And those that have done it successfully have really knocked it out of the park. I think you just have to have a really good strategy to get the right influencers, develop the right content, and make it compelling and be different. You can't just be a Me Too product and expect it to rock the world.
Absolutely. I think storytelling is a really important skill set in marketing. And I think TikTok Shop does that really, really well, or TikTok in general, right? Most people, they're doom scrolling, and you end up seeing brand owners have enormous success if the storytelling occurs in the proper manner. And I have TikTok Shop seller friends who have really worked with micro influencers. I think that's one of the big questions is, who do I work with? Do I need somebody who has a really large following? And the answer to that is no, you don't, because I know of seller friends who have been able to accomplish great success even with the micro influencers. In fact, at Helium 10, we have one product that was a little bit dead on Amazon, wasn't really moving as much inventory as before. And on TikTok Shop, once we got it listed, we had a few influencers start talking about it. There were other influencers who reached out and tried to promote the same product. And then that kind of pulled traffic onto the Amazon platform. So really leveraging one is going to be potentially beneficial for even the Amazon platform.
Yeah. I mean, their algorithm definitely favors external traffic and getting the right audience that is an authoritative figure in the category of products. So if you're in skincare, are you going to align with an influencer that does automotive parts? No, you're going to align with someone that is a cosmetologist or whatever, and someone that people trust, and try and get exposure from those people that their community trusts and wants to emulate them. And I think quality is a lot more important than quantity.
Yes, I definitely agree with that.
So I know you do your own influencing. What are other suggestions that you have for people that or want to hire an influencer? How should they incentivize them? How should they go about it? How should they do their research to find the right one? Any information you would find helpful?
It really depends on the platform. I mean, if you're on TikTok Shop and you're taking a look at open or targeted collaborations, what I like to do is I like to identify which demographics and what type of people are going to be buying into that product. So say that you're selling fitness leggings, you're going to know that maybe you're going to have dancers who are interested in that product. You're going to have mothers who are interested in that product. Any sort of, let's say, teenagers who are super interested into fitness, maybe, right? Just kind of categorize by your audience type and then write invitations out for your targeted collaborations. Once you have invitations built, you can bulk add 50. I always like to go in and open up each individual profile, take a look at the metrics, see how much merchandise volume they've moved, what sort of price range they really work with, what their content looks like. Is it actually appealing? Are they generating proper views? And then from there, deciding that, yes, you know what, I'm going to send out an invitation to this person. You can just bulk add them depending on which category they fit. Because in the very, very beginning, when I was doing this on TikTok Shop, I was trying to go in and individually be like, hey, Janice, this is really cool. I love what you did with XYZ. Can you, and that's very time consuming. You have other things to be focusing your time on. So instead, having invitations pre-built and then adding influencer to that can really help. Also, taking a look at the performance metrics beforehand. So if you're going into performance and filtering by that, say your niche by whatever it is that you have in mind, say I want to find ones that have 10,000 plus views or that have moved at least 1,000 units, then you can find those influencers and then particularly target them. That's just on TikTok Shop. I'm a little bit different in the sense of on Instagram, I have a really great network for the categories that I'm in. So I can just kind of tap on people I know who then can tap on people they know. Sometimes, or what is the most popular saying? Your network is your network, or your network is your net worth, right? That's the saying, I think.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that is look inside of your circle. Perhaps you know somebody who can get you in contact with a really great influencer who can give you favorable deals. And that can kind of start the snowball effect because somehow one person starts talking about it and then somebody else hears it, and the word of mouth marketing can really take over if you have a really great product or service or transformation that you're really offering.
How do you differentiate how you market on TikTok versus Instagram, for example?
So on Instagram, I again tap into my network. We do have something called the Influencer Finder now at Helium 10 as well. This is a little bit newer. So you can go on and say input in your product title, your name, your ASIN, and then any sort of filters, the way that you have inside of Cerebro or Magnet, any of our tools. We tend to give you guys filters. The whole reason for that is because opportunity, the way that Steve defines it, might be different from what I define it as, depending on which niche I'm in, depending on which platform I'm looking at. So we have filters for you on the Influencer Finder, and you can go in, input in what it is you're interested in. So for example, and I wonder if I can just share my screen here. Maybe I can.
Should be able to.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Yep.
So this quickly right here, just so you guys know, something we chat about, and this is if you guys are seeing it visually. If you're just listening, no worries. Just go into your Helium 10 dash. And if you're looking for specifically the TikTok Shop tools, you're going to see a little TikTok icon right next to the tool if it is available for the TikTok platform. Now, I went into Influencer Finder. So once you are inside of the marketing section, you'll see it right there. And this is what you'll see if you're looking at my screen. So you have all of these different filters. You have, for example, how many photos have they posted? How many idea lists have they posted? What number of videos? And actually, just in case you guys don't know what an influencer's storefront looks like. So this one's mine. I was doing a case study just as an influencer on Amazon. And so you can go in, and as you can see, you have an idea list you can build out. Now mine is quite new, so you're not seeing too many, but this one has a photo attached to it. These are all my videos. when you open them up, right, you're going to end up seeing, say, the product. Now, if I click on the video itself, it gives me the video, the caption, kind of the way that you would see on Instagram, but with a video attached to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can go in and say, I want to see X amount of ideas posted. I want to see at least 15 videos or 30 videos. Have they live streamed before? What sort of phrases does the bio include? If you are for example, we were just looking at perfume and you sell perfume, I might want to see that the phrases contain perfume in it or cologne or whatever is relevant to your industry. How many likes does the video have? And this way you can end up finding the influencers that are really going to cater to what it is you're looking for. Are they actually moving product? Are they inside of the beauty niche, if that's what you're selling, inside of fragrance, right? And you can even find their social media links. So if I want to find influencers who have their TikTok attached to their influencer storefront, then you would be able to do that as well. Yeah.
I think it's great that you guys have so many filters, because if you were, let's say we'll stick with the skincare line. You were a skincare brand and you have product that is organic and cruelty free and things like that, things that are important to you, that you may say, I want only influencers that value those things, because they're going to talk up my product and appreciate the fact that it's more expensive because it's better quality, and this is what we stand for, and this is our, how we contribute to the environment, or whatever it is. You can basically narrow down to a subset that is probably more ideal for you, versus a spray and pray approach, which is, I'm going to send it to a bunch of people and they're going to choose it or they're not. Now you're being more selective. And I think we've learned on Amazon, relevance is super important. You want to have high traffic, yes, but you want to have really high relevant traffic, so you get good conversion rates. Same thing with influencers. You don't want to get a bunch of traffic that doesn't convert, right?
Yeah. And I do want to mention, I just did a collaboration effort with Destiny from Better Media, and we were kind of chatting about how the lookout period for even something like Prime Week changes. So you can end up, especially if there's deals involved, or an event's coming up, you might end up seeing more people gravitating somewhere. And if, let's say, you're looking at something like ads, you might see a hike in your impressions, but not necessarily in your sales. And I just want to make sure you guys understand that even in the world of influencers, you might have an increase in the visibility of it, but it might take a little bit of time for the actual conversion to happen. Yeah. There's some sort of saying that it can take even up to 7 times of brand awareness before somebody actually purchases from you. And so the more well-known you are, the more that you're posting about your brands, the more platforms you're on, it just gives you a little bit more possibility for that conversion to really occur.
Yeah. Conversion doesn't have to be singularly attached to one interaction with the customer, right? Yes. It's a matter of, did I make a positive influence in that consumer's mind about my brand, my product, and so forth? And if so, that might be really early on their journey. Like I was recently shopping for a pool robot that I can just throw in the pool and have it do its cleaning and so forth. And now I'm getting remarketed to all sorts of pool robots. But it's a considered purchase, not something you just go and make a purchase right away. So if you have a good experience with some marketing that is intriguing, that may be just the first step of many touch points you're going to have along the way. And especially with a product that is, a brand that you generally align on and you buy repetitively, that is also going to help keep your brand top of mind as well.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
One thing, as you were showing the Helium 10 screen, it reminded me that I can't tell you how many times clients join Prime Guidance and they have a Helium 10 account and they do not do some of the basic things like tracking keywords and entering their cost of goods so they can actually monitor profitability and so forth. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but those are like table stakes. You should be always monitoring those things and so forth. Are there other aspects that you would say these are kind of underserved tools in Helium 10 that, just not enough people are using?
There's so much functionality in each of our tools. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say Cerebro is my favorite. And Cerebro lets you figure out which keywords or key phrases to really focus on, whether it comes down to your ads, what's inside of your listing, what's in your graphic images, your A+ content. And by optimizing that frequently, you can ensure that you have the visibility on keywords. Sometimes if you're not getting sales, it is as simple as the visibility of where you're showing up, whether you're indexing or ranking for keywords. So before we even talk about keyword tracker, you have Cerebro and Magnet. And going in,
right?
and before you, let's say, just post up the listing and you let it run, maybe leverage some of those filters that are available to you. So for example, you have the ability to go in and say, hey, the first ASIN I inputted in, I want to find all the key phrases where it's showing up from position 15 to 150. But my competitors, if it's a multi-ASIN search, are showing up in the first 10 organic placements. And being able to find that, you're now going to see where your competitors are beating you in ranking, but you're not quite at the top of the search. This means if your sales aren't nearly as good as your competitors, you can now identify keywords or phrases where you might want to put in a little bit of money in exact match campaigns to begin ranking at the top, or even figure out if the title density or CPR number, if you don't know what either of those are, CPR number means how many units you'd have to move at a discounted rate over 8 days to rank at the top half of page 1. And title densities, how many products on page 1 have that exact key phrase inside of the title. Now, say that your competitors are beating you on something, it's a really relevant long tail keyword with great search volume, and you want to begin ranking at the top of the page all of a sudden. Well, now you've identified it by comparing, right, the rankings that we mentioned before in those filters. And then you can go in and say the CPR number actually is pretty manageable. It's 8 units. That means you have to give away 1 unit for every single day for 8 days, and all of a sudden you'll be able to rank at the top half of page 1. Now, we've tested this. This works. I've tested this with my products. And you can go in, and it does not actually take you the full 8 days. It's just to give you the best possible outcome of sustaining that rank. So you might be ranking at the top half of page 1 after day 2 or 3 or 4, but you can go in and pause out that campaign if you're running ads after you have whatever number it is that's averaging down over the course of the 8 days. So this will give you the additional visibility on that key phrase, especially if it's one that's relevant and has the search volume you're seeking. Something else is historical trends. So going in and you can literally compare this month to a previous month, or let's say you want to forecast your inventory and see what the visibility how it will shift in the coming months. You can go back and take a look at last year or the year prior and then compare, well, which keywords am I not ranking for now, but I was ranking for last year? And if I do want to actually make sure I'm going to be ranking at the top for those keywords, how much more inventory might I need? Or any sort of predictors that you would need, you'd be able to discover through this, right? Make some extrapolations, figure it out. And that's just inside of Cerebro and Magnet. When you talked about keyword tracker, having Boost on is really, really important. Have you used Boost yourself?
Yeah, so it's every hour tracking, right?
Yes, yeah, hourly tracking. So making sure if you have primary keywords or key phrases you're really interested in, that you're able to see how your rankings change, especially because Amazon does a shuffle of all the products all the time. And even if I look up something, Steve might have a completely different set of rankings that he's really looking at. And so being able to go in and see what your average positioning is every single hour for 10 days, and then you can just return on Boost. And I think the last thing that I definitely want to mention on the same question is Search Query Analyzer, because I mentioned at the very beginning, but what I love about Search Query Analyzer is the search volume is different than Cerebro and Magnet. It's pulled directly from Amazon. It's denormalized search, meaning that we're not looking now at the same for search volume we're looking at inside of the keyword research tools. This is going to be, for example, if we went to a page for protein powder, and then we went to page 2 and then page 3, those are all counting as searches. So you have a bit more of an inflated search. Even if I went back to Etsy and then I came back forward to Amazon, that's going to be another search. And so you can compare and contrast your Helium 10 metrics, your performance metrics, your Helium 10 ads metrics with search query performance. Meaning, if you end up having a higher number of impressions than the search volume, that means you're showing up multiple times on that search page. You're showing up for organic and for sponsored. Whereas if you didn't, you had a lower impression number than the search volume, you might want to invest a little bit more into ads, especially if it's a phrase that you do want to be showing up for. If you have a great conversion rate, you can now compare your conversion rates to the market conversion rates. And if your conversion rate is better than the market's, well, wouldn't you want to put a little bit more money in and make sure you're getting a lot out of that great conversion rate that's already beating the market? Whereas if it's not as good, you're going to want to go back into your listing and figure out, well, what is my competitor doing that's causing them to have a greater conversion rate than I do, and how can I improve mine?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Helium 10 is just so many tools that we spend a lot of our time actually walking clients through the various tools that they're utilizing, or they're not utilizing, I should say, and just walking them through how to get the most out of it. Because I think that so many people sign up and they're just a little overwhelmed with um, everything that's available to them, and they don't take the time to watch the Freedom Ticket and all the other training that you offer, and they don't always take the time to use all the different filters and capabilities and tools that you offer. And I think that if you're trying to look at how do I go from being a great seller to an advanced seller, it's about looking for the things that your competitors haven't yet uncovered and executing on those things flawlessly. Like, for example, the CPR rating. If you find that your competitors are ranking for that term, like the example you gave, and you are not, at least top of page, and you're basically just saying, hey, this is how many you have to sell to show up at top of page. It's a very simple, equation. How many more do I need to sell? And if I'm not selling those organically, I have to buy paid ads or otherwise drive enough traffic to get consumers to buy that quantity. And now I'm organically ranking where I don't need to have as much of an investment in advertising. And those are things that every seller should be doing constantly, and monitoring. Did I drop in ranking? Did I stop indexing on something? And how can I boost, not just looking at the total BSR, but looking at the actual keyword ranking across a whole variety of important terms. Mm-hmm. The other one that I find that people really don't leverage enough is Market Tracker. Yeah. And obviously the basic or the more premium version are, I think, both really valuable when your boss comes to you and say, why is business down this week? Or why are we doing less business this month than last month? And you can go back and point to, not only is this a seasonal trend, but this is an entire category trend. And here's what my composition of my key competitors is showing, that it's a unified trend. It's not something where we're losing market share, which is the most important concern. Mm-hmm. Anytime there's a dip is, are we losing market share? Are we doing something wrong? Is there something broken? And that's just an easy way to get some answers. Obviously, Amazon's providing more and more in the way of brand analytics and so forth, but having multiple points of view to quickly understand business trends is so valuable.
Yeah. And I think one other thing I would add here is making sure you have rules and automation set up inside of Helium 10 ads, especially if you're running your own ads, because that's going to let you not focus so much on going into each individual campaign and trying to clean it up. You can set up literal rules of, hey, my ACoS, if it's higher than 50%, lower than 60%, do XYZ with it. You can go in and say, I want my CPC multiplied by my target ACoS divided by, and so you can get into really complex calculations and set it up in a way where now you don't have to babysit all your campaigns, and you can do it in much less timing.
Yeah. And if anyone listening to this does not have the request a review feature turned on, you need to make sure you're doing that, because Amazon's giving you the option per order to reach out to a customer and ask for a review. Amazon's tackling it, but Helium 10's making that API request for you if you configure it properly. And to me, if you can get a couple percentage of your orders going to reviews, that's really beneficial. And if you're doing it and your competitor's not, and you're hopefully gaining at a faster pace. If your competitors are doing it and you're not, now you're losing, you're not gaining reviews at the same pace as them. Over time, they may look more dominant than you. You've got to be on top of your game in every little way. So tell me about your book authorship. Like, I understand you do some very creative ways of writing books and stuff. I'd love to hear more.
Yeah. So there's a few ways that I recommend writing books if you're listening in and you want to get into it. I actually just started building a course on it because I had so many folks who are physical products that they focus on physical products. And one of my brands last or 2 years ago that I launched the physical product with the digital product involved. And so it drives up the perceived value. And I think it's a great, it's what?
Like a bonus item, right?
Yeah, it's like a bonus item, but mine was quite extravagant in the sense of it provided a digital course and live coaching with it. And because of that, the rebrand that I mentioned at the very beginning of this call that I'm doing is actually flipping the entire marketing. It's the same exact product, but going in and saying, actually, you're buying the digital product with a physical product as a bonus to incentivize people into being like, oh, I'm getting like a free item with it. So the marketing, I think, can get very, very crafty and fun. But going back to your question, which was related to simply books, and books, I published my first couple when I was about 23. And so it's been a few years. But going in, I wrote the book quite fast. And then I had a few that I published that were ghost written. And so I think most of the time when we're going into writing a book, we think we have to write it ourselves, which is the whole reason a lot of people don't end up publishing. They're like, I'm not a writer. I'm not an author. Well, really, what you can do is, even if you are a physical products brand owner and you want to increase your perceived value, you can say, actually, I am going to have a digital product associated to this. You can create an outline. You can do that very simply now these days with ChatGPT. Even say that you went into Cerebro, you found things that are related to your physical product. You copied them, you pasted them into ChatGPT because now you know that those are keywords and phrases consumers are looking for related to your product. And then you can create an outline which you can give to a ghostwriter, say on Upwork, on Fiverr. I have a writer in Mongolia who I found through the Warrior Forum. And so being able to find a ghostwriter who can then go in and create something for you that you can go back in and edit either yourself or through somebody else, a third-party service on, say, Fiverr. Again, same exact websites. You can go in and find somebody who formats for you, and then you can publish it either to KDP if that's what you want, or you can go in and bundle that as a bonus freebie that increases your value for your product.
Yeah. How have you found they worked for you, and would you recommend more people take advantage of that?
Take advantage of, sorry, I didn't catch it. You
writing a book, like how has that worked for you?
Yeah, I like it. I do like it. I think I'm quite a creative, generally speaking. So for me, it's good so long as I understand the subject matter, then I can talk like nobody's business. I think as opposed to sitting down and wanting it to be perfect, my mindset is very much you want to focus on progress, not perfection. So sit down, write it out as if you and I were just chatting. How would I explain something to a friend? Yeah. And then go in and actually refine it to fit the tone that you desire afterwards. And so not getting stuck on, oh my goodness, this needs to be perfect from the jump. I need to make sure all of it works. It has the hook. You could just write it out and then organize later.
Yeah, I think it's great. One of my concerns, because I've thought about writing a book myself, is whatever you publish related to Amazon today seems like it's outdated, a week from now, because everything changes so fast. Like looking back at, SEO tactics and marketing tactics and so forth. I mean, just a few months can really change things drastically. What are your thoughts about how relevant it needs to be, and what would you do to keep it updated, if anything?
The beauty about KDP is you can retain control over your manuscript instead of a traditional publishing house where one and done is the name of the game. Here, you can really go in and refine that manuscript. So for example, those books I posted when I was young and 23, I mean, what did I really know at the time? It was whatever I knew, right? In that moment. But after the feedback, I could go back in and refine. So for example, I have a book published that it's not real. It's not a self-help book, but a lot of the feedback was, oh, you killed too many people in this book. And so going back in and refining that, making sure that, it is aligned with not getting too many negative reviews. If that isn't what I want, that was an option for me.
Yeah, that's pretty
cool.
Going
in and making it relevant time and time again, so long as you have the time for it. If not, this is really where AI or hiring out can come into play. But of course, if it's specific to Amazon, then you're going to be the subject matter expert, right? So just going in and being able to refine it and then upload it, that's very easily doable. I will say even their physical books, You don't have to bulk order the inventory ahead of time. So you can upload the manuscript. And then as customers actually place the order, that's when they'll print them and send them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool that they have that functionality these days, kind of like print on demand t-shirts and everything else now books. So I know that every week you post, I think it's on Helium 10's LinkedIn page or something, like the top 10 news items of the week or whatever. Anything that's in the last couple of weeks, kind of a game changer, anything that you want to call out to the audience that they may not know this, but it's a big deal?
I mean, outside, I think right now the biggest topics have really just been Prime Week being announced. And at the same exact time as Prime Week, they have TikTok shops, 12 days deals. Walmart has something similar happening. Target has something similar happening. There's a whole hype happening around these events. So if you are a physical products brand owner or even a digital products, I think there's a lot to capitalize in the coming month. And so really tapping into making sure your listings are set up for success now would be really, really ideal for you guys. As far as what else is really going on, I'm trying to think. And I think the very fact that that is the top thing I can think of, plus the fact that Amazon Posts is subsiding. If you were leveraging Amazon Posts up until now, make sure that you make use of all the creatives before it's done. Actually, I'm not sure if it's even available. I think it might have been June 30th, but yeah, that's no longer a thing anymore. RIP to Amazon Posts.
I'm surprised they didn't monetize that versus just, sunset it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing is the Prime Day evolution. In years past, these other retailers would try and create their own special day that's in their own special time to try and create buzz and excitement. I think that ultimately they probably came back and looked at it and said, our customers are still all going to Amazon during these couple days that they're doing this Prime deals. We need to kind of keep those customers and offer compelling deals at the same time, rather than trying to push our own events and have offers. And also a way of pushing their brands to be competitive in all channels. So I think more commonly now, you're going to see a lot of price alignment between those marketplaces, where a product price is probably going to drop in all of them, because if they don't, you're probably going to be search suppressed if it's cheaper on one versus another marketplace because of marketplace fair pricing policies and so forth. So think holistically at this time of Prime events, Walmart events, Target events, TikTok events, and so forth, and try and make sure you have a good solid plan. And it's 4 days long this year, so huge benefit.
Yes. And on that same note, I will say, if it doesn't make sense for you to drive coupons or offer a deal for your product at the moment due to profitability reasons, do not force yourself to do the coupons if it doesn't make sense, because at the end of the day, that's the whole reason you're in business, is to make some green. And just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean you have to, so long as your listing is optimized. That's what I meant when I said make sure that your listing is optimized. Go in. Are your graphics on point? Are you really having that listing written for conversions, for the consumer to feel understood and persuaded? But also, are you using the right keywords, the right key phrases? What do your ad campaigns look like? So if it makes sense for you to have a coupon, great, by all means. But if not, don't worry about that so much. I think in general, we've even seen that if you have somebody in your category running an Amazon Live, the entire category sees an uplift, just because people are all of a sudden interested in that product. So you might still have the tap into the boosted traffic that is happening because of Prime Week, but also because of the lives. And for you, your goal is really just to make sure that your listing is in a place where it is profitable and it is persuasive.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge that every brand faces. Is, let's say you're selling a supplement. Is a deal on a supplement going to matter when they're really there looking for big screen TVs and other, exciting offers? Maybe not, but you looking your best and having good visibility is super important. So I would still say drive up your ranking ahead of the event. And if you can participate in like Prime exclusive discounts, which is a 15% minimum price drop, then you get a badge that says Prime Day deal. that really does seem to have the biggest impact, in my opinion. Some like putting a supplement and a lightning deal or best deal might work if it's broad appeal, but it also might not be what, it may not get much good coverage. So is it really worth your effort to invest in that during that event? Maybe not. But we once tested with a client on a Prime Day, and we did like a portion of their catalog with the Prime exclusive discount and a portion without. And the portion without saw a lift of in the 20 some percent higher than normal day range or sales range. And the items with the Prime exclusive discount saw a 200+% increase in sales. So there will definitely be, an impact. It's just a matter of, is it right for your business model? And I think that everyone has the wide awakening this year that tariffs and other factors can come into play. And if you're not in a good financial situation, really pay attention to what's going in your bank, right? The dollars that are going in the bank at the end of the day is what matters. Top line sales is relatively meaningless if you're not doing good on the cash flow basis and so forth. So definitely think wisely and make good choices. So anyways, I think this was really awesome. Anything else to add before we drop?
No, not off the top of my head, but I hope those of you that are listening or watching you guys learned something here that you can go and implement for your own businesses.
Yeah, thank you. Why don't you tell the audience how they can reach you should they want to reach out and connect?
Yeah, we do have Helium 10 Facebook groups, so be sure that you guys are on there. That's great for questions. If you want to tag me, Bradley, Carrie, we're always inside of the Facebook groups kind of going about and reading up and answering questions. So that, I think, is the best way to contact us, but you're more than welcome to make sure that you guys are subscribed to all of our channels. That's where we put out new content. So if you have any new features that you're curious about, you don't know how to use, that's where you can find more information about that.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Shivali. For those that haven't connected with me, my name is Steve Yates, and you can schedule a free introductory call with me at primeguidance.com. I'll be happy to spend some time with you, spend about a half hour poking holes into your listings and giving you feedback and showcasing how we could help you. So thanks again for joining the Prosperous Sellers Podcast.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.